Hi, I'm Erin White with the Knittervention, and welcome to week 1 of the Celtic Coast Shawl Quarantine Knit Along. Say that 5 times fast. First off, I want to say thank you for getting a pattern and getting your yarn together and joining us for this. It is going to be a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to seeing the work and the progress that everybody makes on this. I know that times are a little weird right now with quarantine and stay home policies and telework and just not being able to be out in public and kind of missing fiber community. And that's part of the reason why I wanted to have a quarantine knit along to kind of help fight against that. A few things that you can expect from me during this. First off, I do have a Facebook page, theknittervention.com, as well as the Knittervention on Instagram, and I do have a private group set up through my Facebook page for the Celtic Coast Shawl Quarantine Knit Along, which you can search for that through Facebook, or you can go to my The Knittervention page, and you can find that group under groups. So you can join there, and you can meet everybody else who's working on this, and you can interact with them, ask questions to me, post progress pictures on Facebook, and if you're on Instagram, you post progress pictures out there. Still a way to interact, and all I ask is that if you do post pictures, that you use the hashtags Celtic Coast Shawl or Celtic Coast Shawl QKAL for the quarantine knit along. So, like I said, a few things that you can expect from me are weekly videos on Monday mornings. It'll be something similar to this, just going over what the next section of the shawl is going to entail. And I'm estimating where you're going to be at in the shawl. You could be much further along than I'm posting about, or you could be behind. It doesn't matter. You work at your own pace. There's 4 weeks. You're going to get it done in 4 weeks. Believe me. So yeah, the weekly videos. I'll also be posting any tutorials to go along with those sections and any skills that are needed. To be honest, the tutorials are going to be mostly uploaded with this video at the same time, because most of the skills that you're going to need throughout the shawl, you start practicing immediately. And then for the next group of tutorials that gets uploaded, that will be on week 3, and that will cover the lattice section down at the bottom here. So I'll go over how to do the stitch specifically for the shawl, because the tutorial that I have in the current pattern is a little bit different than what I have, but it's all I could find at the time. And then the last tutorial that I'll post will be on the I-cord bind off. So this week is cast on week. Woo! And I'll be having a Facebook Live and Instagram Live cast on party. Although if you see behind me right here, the little lineup of balls of yarn, I've already started my next Celtic Coast shawl because I had to work on the tutorials. So my cast on's already been made, but we're going to kick it off. I'm going to have a glass of wine and I'll be there to answer your questions. So the cast on is this really big, in my opinion, 9-stitch, 19-row garter tab cast on that will get you a total of 37 stitches at the beginning of the shawl. So we're going to be working on that. And week 1, you are going to be completing probably, you'll be entering into at least the second section, if not, towards the end of the second section. So what I'm going to cover for the pattern this week is just going to concentrate on these sections right here. So a couple of notes on the pattern itself. If you are doing the 3-color fade or the 5-color fade version, you will see that at the beginning of each row, there is a key there that lets you know what color you're going to be working with. So if you're going to be in the 5-color version of the shawl, right around the first garter tab, right around the first double garter border between the first moss stitch or seed stitch section and the chevron section, that is where you will start to fade in the second color of your 5-color fade. If you are working on the 3-color fade version, you'll start fading that in right towards the end of the second section here. You can't really see it all that well in this particular shawl because the colors blend together so nicely. I have a hard time finding where it is, but it's right around the end of the second section and into the third section or the second seed stitch section. Again, say that 5 times fast. So you'll just have to pay attention to the beginning of each row for when you start to see those fades. Something that I would suggest doing that I found works for me is to highlight those like the first few rows of the color change, so that way you know when a color change is coming up. That's just a suggestion from me. Another thing that you'll see in the pattern is that every so often at the beginning of the row, before the row number, you will see either an asterisk, a dash, and a pound sign, or a pound sign and a dash. What those are for is to give you a little visual cue as to where the cable rows are. So if it's an asterisk, you'll know that that is a row that has the border cables. So the 2-2 right cross at the beginning and the 2-2 left cross at the end. It's just a little visual cue. If you see a dash in a hashtag, that is for the braid section down the middle, and that is for a knit 5 and then a 5-5 left cross. If you see a hashtag and a dash, again, that's for the center braid section, and that will be for a 5-5 right cross and then knit 5. And that is, those are the little visual cues that I have in the pattern to kind of remind you that, hey, there is something that you need to do with the cable needle in this section. And I know for me, it helps me immensely. Another thing to note is that when you're doing the chevron section right here, so you see how, you have the knit and purl section, and then it kind of switches back at a point. That point is row 54. So I would maybe circle it, put a little note there saying this is the point where you start to see the pattern go in the opposite direction. I bring that up because I've made several of these shawls so far, and every time without fail, I get to row 54. And I think that I did something wrong, I wasn't paying attention, and I just kept going with the pattern that I had previously. I went into autopilot, and because of that autopilot, I've had to frog a section where I'd have to go back like 5 or 6 rows, or I had to tink 2 or 3 rows. And that's never fun. So row 54, put a little circle, put a star by it. Just know that that's where you switch back for the chevron section. And with that, those are all of the pattern notes and the tips and tricks and the little things to kind of keep in the back of your mind when you're working on this pattern that I have for you. I will be hosting a Instagram Live and a Facebook Live event on Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to answer any questions that you may have for me in regards to the shawl, the pattern, life in general. So I will be making myself available to you on Instagram and on Facebook. On Instagram Live, I believe I only have an hour. I'm not sure how much time I actually am allotted on Facebook Live, but I will be there for as long as I can. You can also reach out to me over my email, which is thenittervention@gmail.com, through my Facebook page, The Knittervention, or through Instagram at, you guessed it, The Knittervention. And I look forward to seeing everybody's progress. I look forward to interacting with you all, and let's make some pretty things right now. That's what the world needs. Let's make some pretty things. Happy knitting, and I will talk to you all soon.